Hey everybody, Zion over here from Nintendo Life, and today we're here to share with you our review of the long-awaited Bayonetta 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Now, this review was originally written by PJ O'Reilly for NintendoLife.com, but was reworked into this video by me. What's the greatest pure action game series of all time? Is it Devil May Cry? Maybe Ninja Gaiden? Castlevania, or the Batman Arkham series, or something else entirely. Regardless of whatever your personal preference for butt-kicking comes down to, one thing that we can all agree on is that there are only a handful of franchises that have truly managed to knock it out of the park time and time again. Now, with the third Bayonetta finally in our hands, we can say for certain that Platinum Games series deserves its place at the top of the pedestal, right with the best of the best, as their latest outing with the unstoppable Umbra Witch makes these games a pretty much untouchable hack-and-slash trilogy. It's been a very long 8 years since we last stepped into the gun boot wearing Angel Hunter, but she's finally back and faster, better, and stronger than ever. We didn't believe that Bayonetta 3 could really live up to the show-stopping highs of its marvelous predecessors. But within just the first hour or so of this third helping of absolute chaos, we knew we were in for something truly special. What Platinum Games has served up here is a threequel that takes the delicious core combat of the first two Bayonetta games, that finely balanced masterwork of considered combos and carefully timed dodges, and adds a bunch of new mechanics that raise the whole thing up to an entirely new level without the slightest negative effect on what makes this series feel so fantastic in the first place. We had our concerns that Bayonetta 3's infernal demons, those great big showy monstrosities you can now summon to fight by your side, could shift the balance away from the fantastically tight combos and witch time magic that made these games such an endless joy to return to repeatedly over the years. But what we have here is a situation where we can actually have our cake and eat it as well, as this is the best the series combat has ever been. The screen-shaking sidekicks you can now call on to assist you in battle are such a fantastic fit, such a perfectly realized addition to the madness that we honestly can't imagine a Bayo game without them going forward. Summoning a great big Godzilla-style reptile, a sexy demon butterfly lady, an enormous as hell spider, or a poisonous rain-spewing frog to cut through your enemies with the touch of a button takes a moment or two to get used to, but once you've got the hang of it all, you'll never look back. Each and every infernal demon in the game has its own set of moves to get to grips with. They'll imbue Bayonetta with new weapons and methods of traversal to add to her already generous array of tricks and skills. And they've been layered into the combat in such a way that you can't just spam them all willy-nilly. You need to consider when to deploy them, and usually during which time is a good opportunity, unless your enemies have already torn them to shreds, and then you'll temporarily lose the ability to summon them in a tight spot. Bayonetta 3's biggest additions add a delightful new wrinkle to core combat that was already deliciously deep, and they fit into the general mood of this third adventure perfectly as well. Everything about this game is extreme, as you'd probably hope. It's no-holds-barred stuff, crazy, campy, over-the-top mayhem that leaps from one massive battle to the next, throwing new mechanics into the mix here and there, and honestly everywhere for one-off sequences, and never resting on its laurels as it blasts you across the globe and through a multiverse of massive enemies, returning characters, and surprises aplenty. You then have multiple playable characters to add to this delirious mix. Again, we weren't sure about this at first. Do we really want to relinquish control of the sublime Bayonetta to spend time as John or Viola? As it turns out, we absolutely do. Viola plays a significant part in the plot here, a plot that we'll be spoiling absolutely none of in this review. And she's a surprisingly different proposition to Bayo, a hard-hitting fighter who isn't as quick on her feet in comparison. But she makes up for her lack of grace with some ferocious combos of sword attacks that see her absolutely wailing on enemies. Her lack of discipline and experience shows through in how she completely loses it during extended battles. The biggest difference in taking control of Viola, though, is that her version of Witch Time is activated not by dodging, but by blocking with her sword. It sounds like a small change, but those slinky Bayonetta dodges are baked into our brains at this stage, and so it may take a little time to remember, and you may find yourself getting battered as you struggle to come to grips with it, and these early moments are when you'll question the wisdom of having Viola take control for entire chapters, but stick with it and it all clicks into place. John also gets her own series of side missions, which take the form of stages that switch the action to a side-scrolling perspective for stealth-centric segments of Mission Impossible-styled espionage. Again, we weren't sure when the first one of these kicked off, but the sheer style and confidence and how they've been added to the mix sells it all, and the narrative strand here feeds back nicely into the main campaign as the game reaches its absolutely off-the-wall climax. There are some smaller tweaks to the action here too, with more streamlined weapon changing being one of the most welcome tweaks. There's no more need to consider each of Bayo's limbs individually. You can simply place your favorite weapon as sets in the pause menu, and then switch them out on the fly as you batter your way through battles, mixing up your guns and your traversal options as needed depending on the challenges you're currently facing. There are so many moving parts, the multiple protagonists, infernal demons, weapons, traversal methods, absolutely tons of stuff to wrap your head around. And it's incredible really that it all fits together as wonderfully as it does. Level design has also seen a noticeable shakeup this time around, with much bigger and more open spaces to investigate. You'll get locked down into arenas as combat sequences get underway, but the rest of the time you've got plenty of real estate to investigate at your leisure, using your various new traversal methods and skills to find the many collectibles, combat challenges, secrets, and hidden battles the game has in store for you. There's tons of variety here too. This is a game that blasts you around the globe and through multiple versions of reality, and without spoiling any surprises, almost every chapter has some crazy new gimmick or unique aspect thrown into the mix to keep you on your toes. Of course, one of the main draws of the Bayonetta series is the depth that the combat offers to those of us who wish to really dig deep, to replay levels, perfect sequences, and earn platinum trophies for every single battle and chapter in the game. And Bayonetta 3 doesn't lose sight of this amidst the chaos. There are tons of awards to earn here, from platinum medals to chapter-specific challenges. Each infernal demon, every playable character, has their own skill tree full of unlockable moves. There's a practice arena to jump into, and countless dizzying combos to wrap your head around. Even towards the very end of the game, you're still having brand new demons, weapons, and traversal options thrown at you, right up until the very last encounter in fact, which speaks to an experience that's designed from the ground up to be replayed incessantly. With tougher difficulty modes, a bunch of other stuff to unlock, and online leaderboards for every single chapter, this is a game we're going to be pressing and prodding at for some time to come. It's also a blast for more casual action fans who just want to jump in for the spectacle. There's a casual mode that makes even the biggest fights properly approachable, and you can even turn the semi-nudity off if that's not your cup of tea either. Of course, you can jump down to the gates of hell too, where Rodin hosts a fine selection of items to tweak, toughen, and simplify your play level. Want to make big combos easy to pull off? There's an accessory for that. But do you want to make everything even harder for yourself? There's an item for that as well. It's equally impressive too that all of this chaos, all of the fighting up the sides of skyscrapers, explosive chase sequences, monstrous kaiju battles, tsunamis, out of control cruise ships, and so much more besides that, has landed on Switch in a package that never drops the ball in terms of performance. The camera can lose its way a little bit on rare occasions when ferocious battles happen in tight spaces, and yeah, there's some noticeable resolution scaling in handheld mode when things get ultra crazy, but it's all perfectly acceptable and understandable at this stage in order to keep that frame rate smooth. This really is a fantastic looking game, a ferocious non-stop onslaught of crazy action and over-the-top set pieces that runs like a dream in both portable and docked modes. It's easily one of the flashiest experiences on Nintendo's hybrid console, and we've enjoyed our time with it equally split between our TV and on the go. We guess we should probably mention the voice acting at this point as well. It's certainly been the cause of plenty of discussion in the build-up to the game's release. And whatever the full story happens to be with regards to Helena Taylor's exit from voicing the lead role, you can rest assured that Jennifer Hale does a top-notch job with a performance that's instantly recognizable as Bayonetta, hitting all the right notes while bringing just enough new elements to the party that it feels like a character refreshed and renewed. The rest of the voice cast do a great job here as well. The 8-year wait has been more than worth it. Bayonetta 3 is the best game in the series. We'll say it. This is a third entry in one of the all-time great action franchises that improves the already top-notch core combat, takes the series' level design and exploration aspects to new heights, and gives us a cracking story to dig into that's topped off with one of the absolutely maddest and goofiest climaxes to a game we've ever seen. It's a pure celebration of all things Bayonetta that everyone with even the slightest interest in this genre needs to check out at the earliest opportunity. It's not often we get emotional at the climax of an all-out action game, but this one brings all the feels with a great big dollop of delightful nostalgia to send us dancing on our merry way. Bayonetta 3 cranks up the chaos, improves the combat, polishes the level design, and adds a ton of new mechanics to the mix, making for the very best entry in this storied series to date. Platinum Games has absolutely nailed it this time around, carefully layering on more ways to engage enemies, piling on the over-the-top gameplay sequences, and giving us multiple protagonists without upsetting the balance of what makes these games amongst the very best examples of their genre. With excellent performance in docked and handheld modes, incredible visuals, non-stop action, and a hugely replayable campaign that's a joy from start to finish, this really is a huge celebration of everything we love about Bayonetta. An action all-timer and one of the biggest highlights of 2022 on Switch or any platform. We here at Nintendo Life give Bayonetta 3 on the Nintendo Switch a 10 out of 10. Now, if you'd like to check out our full written review, you can find that along with more news and information on Bayonetta 3 over at nintendolife.com. And while you're here, let us know your thoughts on the Bayonetta series, if you're planning on picking up this game, and if it's been on your wish list for the past 7 or 8 years as well. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, why don't you find a way to time that subscribe button and then ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we put up a new video. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to PJ O'Reilly for spending a real heaping amount of time with Bayonetta 3. I'm Zion from Nintendo Life. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.